Hello adventurists. It is not even 7 o'clock in the morning. I love getting out early. Just the light, the peacefulness, the calm. Just had my breakfast at McDonald's. This morning I chose a McGriddle, bacon, egg, and cheese. It was good. You know, the McGriddle kind of has this sweet pancake-like substance as the bun instead of the English muffin. I think I like the English muffin better, but this was good because it was different and it had bacon, and who doesn't love bacon? This is where my route takes me, but I'm not going in this one. So I'm gonna look at a parallel road and kind of go right around the cemetery. Just passed into the Brooker Creek Preserve. It's a park and a preserve. I don't know, but it's quiet this morning. Sun's still coming up. I'm casting a nice long shadow, you can see there. It's just been a quiet, smooth morning. If you want to know what Florida is like, here's a taste. If you're riding the coast to coast, I would suggest getting a GPS head unit similar to what I have here, or using something like Ride with GPS on your phone. Like, I just came from that area, crossed over the street, and the trail just keeps going straight. But with no signage, it actually turns and goes this way. So if you're not paying attention, you could probably just keep going straight and miss it, and then have another detour. So, just looking out for my fellow adventurists. I'm in the Starkey Wilderness area, and it is pretty. Behind the taller palm trees is this low, palmy type shrub, and riding in it, it's really cool. You can see the top halves of people's torsos as you're going through because they pop out over the scrub. So, new type of environment and really pretty. And you got some water features too, although I wouldn't want to go swimming. Interesting, I stopped here 2 days ago on my way to Tampa, and then I circled around from St. Pete to Tarpon Springs, and now today's trail through the Starkey Wilderness has brought me right back to this same rest stop. So, good place to refill the water and then head on to the Suncoast Trail, this time going north. You know, before I go off on an adventure, I'll look at two websites, Atlas Obscura and Roadside America, and they'll have these off the beaten path sites that you can visit that are off the beaten path. This one is a World War II era target practice bunker, so the air crews from the local airport would use this bunker for target practice. You can still see the bullet holes in the bunker. And it's an interesting artifact. Looks like they're creating it as a World War II memorial. Am I glad I'm off the Suncoast Trail. I only had it for about 20 miles today, but it's just right next to the interstate, and man, it's just a constant sound of the traffic. You know I sound like I'm complaining, but right now where I am, it's so much nicer. There's a road next to me over there, but it's just much quieter. I think this is the Good Neighbor Trail. We'll see if we find any good neighbors. And won't you be my neighbor? This is the old Brooksville train depot. When the train rolled through here, and they still have a, looks like a freight car or something that's been converted into an office. One little thing to know about the Coast to Coast Trail is you don't attempt it without sunscreen or a burqa, one of the two. Hey buddy! It looks like this area of the forest had a controlled burn. You can see, I guess about 3-4 feet up the trunk of every one of these trees, it's black. So controlled burn, they're clearing out the forest to prevent forest fires. Sign, sign, never wear a sign. Do you hear anything? No. Why? Because it is so damn quiet. And there we go, 62.14. It's only a decimal in imperial, but in metric, that means 100 kilometers. So metric century, baby. And that's a big sayonara to the microtel. It is 6:45. There's an hour before sunrise. But daylight savings time has changed, so it's really like 5:45, 5:50. So I've got my lights on. I've got the flashing one in the back. You can kind of see it flashing on the road there. I got my light on in the front. I've got about 25 miles on Highway 50. There's hardly any vehicles on the road this early Sunday morning. This is nice and peaceful. Well, this is it, official sunrise time. Came up an hour later because of daylight savings, but you can see the temperature dew point is really close. We've got all this fog in the valleys here, and looking ahead on the trail, it's just foggity McFogface. Now entering Groveland, just getting off of the highway. Well, this has got a nice little lake area. I've hit the trail, the first of many that connect today. I've got about 50 miles of trail riding, but I've already done 30 miles of road riding. Today so far has been good. It's been nice and cool. The sun hasn't hit its full temperature yet, or azimuth in the sky. So I'm happy. This is a nice scenic section on the South Lake Trail. You can just see you've got all this Spanish moss above me. You got the lake off to the left, and it's just really pretty. 2 years ago, I was on the Ohio to Erie Trail, and I rode under a banner, and I said that that was completely unique. But now after today, it's the second time, so maybe riding under a banner is no longer unique for me. Donut. So the South Lake Trail runs right past this lake. I don't know if the lake is called South, but because the trail is south of the lake. But in any case, it's a nice scenic view. and this is a good place to take a break. So how southern is a view of this? This is Winter Garden, Florida. This is pretty cute here. Happy New Year! Just here cleaning my chain, lubing it up for the final 150 miles or so, going into St Augustine. Was cleaning the bike and working on it, and a guy rides up and says, "Hey, are you a tourist?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "Where are you coming from?" So Forrest and I had a nice chat, and he's got a brand new Specialized bike and just loving it. So cool to meet other people along the trail. All right, mile 0, Seminole Trail. This looks like it follows these power lines for at least a mile. And here we go through the underpass. Not the underpants. That turn is looking sharp. Nice and cool in here. It's getting warm outside. The local artist has painted a whole bunch of murals here all along the side of the trail. So it's oh, there's a time machine. That's nice. Glad we have this infrastructure. So day 6. It's that time in a bike tour when we need to go to the laundry. So got my quarters in the machine. I've got my detergent here. We're gonna run a load of laundry, finish that, and then go off and get something to eat. This is why I made the decision to stay in the Spring Hill Suite this morning. I would have been out on the trail in the middle of this rain, and that just would have been unpleasant, even on a trail. So I'm here for another couple hours, and then I'll depart. At that point, the worst of the rain should have passed over. Well, I'm back on the trail. I got out of the hotel about 20 after 11. Ran into some other riders who also stayed at the hotel that night. They were checking out the same time. They were going westbound, and they did the same thing I did, stay in the hotel, because it was dry all morning while there was just a deluge of rain outside. So looks like it's cleared up a bit. Clouds are still a little bit iffy. We might get some rain in the next hour, but I figured I'd at least get a start on it for the day. I think the worst of the rain is done, at least according to the weather radar. And everything's blowing east. So that means I should have a tailwind today. Would have expected this to be possibly a little slick, but it's actually not too bad. I left around 20 after 11. I ditched my 87-mile day. I took 35-mile round trip to Titusville off of it so that I could stay in the hotel this morning while the worst of the rain came down. Sometimes I think I make better decisions the older I get. I made a side trip to visit Green Spring, which is a green spring. You are here. But how did they know? You got a men working upside down, and if you look behind them, there's a giant metal robot. This is I-95. I spent many miles on this as a kid in the back of my parents' station wagon as we went from the Northeast to Daytona Beach. And I always remembered the signs of south of the border. Like, I remember one billboard that said, Pedro says chili today, hot tamale. Yeah, it's pretty loud, but can't beat the view. I made it into the Sea Vista Motel in New Smyrna Beach. This place is pretty cool. It's nostalgic. It's got an old mom and pop vibe. One thing I'd like to recommend for this trip is this little tiny trial size of Lysol. I used a bowling alley shoe trick. Every day when I'm finished, I just spray a spritz in each one of my shoes. It keeps them from smelling completely skanky. That's it. I crossed the coast twice. Now I'm here on the East Coast, just enjoying the blustery winds. I hope they calm down tomorrow. As you can see, I'm here at night and you can't see anything if you didn't have these floodlights on. I do have my bike headlamp going so I can see the road ahead. Well, doesn't look like any beach riding today. The tide's completely in. There's no beach right now. So I guess I'm just gonna have to hoof it on the main boulevard here in Daytona Beach. Well, just rolled out of Waffle House. I had myself a breakfast. That'll carry me through probably till at least my next Cliff Bar snack. The sun is starting to come up. It's up over the horizon. I gotta see what the beach looks like because earlier there was no beach. It was high tide. Looks like there's a whole bunch of gnomes at the gnome tree. Having ridden on both the Daytona Barrier Island off to my right and along the, I think, Indian River here. I actually like riding on this side of the barrier island along the river rather than the ocean. There's not a lot of construction. It's more quiet, it's more scenic, and you're not having to dodge a whole bunch of cars and tourists out by the beach. Another gate, but I'm not sure I'd want to go on this bridge anyway. It's probably safe to ride, but that middle section I think is completely collapsed. What you see here is a World War II watchtower. They were built along the coast to watch for enemy submarines, primarily German, and it's still standing and now a historic relic. So cool things to see. Nice. Every once in a while you get a peek of the ocean over the right shoulder. Okay, a little over 16 miles to go south of St Augustine. All right, final stretch. Let's do this, people. Bridge of Lions, going over to St Augustine. Just about to St Augustine. Drawbridge gate came down. Now I'm waiting. I'll never get there. Here's why it's called the Bridge of Lions.